Hey, welcome to Ike's Vintage Tech. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Gateway Solo 9300CX. It was basically a desktop replacement for its time. It came out in the late 90s into the early 2000s, and it had everything you needed to run a video editing machine back then. Now, I'm not going to be editing videos on this obviously, but I am going to see how far I can push it. So today we're going to see how many displays I can connect, how many concurrent operating systems I can run in VMs, and we're all going to do it right here. Stay tuned. Welcome back. If you like seeing old tech like this revived and pushed to its limits, I hope you consider subscribing. So today I have the Gateway Solo 9300CX. This thing was a beast. This was the first computer, or first laptop I bought with my own money back when I worked at Gateway. Now this thing, when I bought it, had 128 meg RAM, 60 gig hard drive, like a 2 meg AMD video, or not AMD, ATI video card. And it was pretty good for its time. You could edit video on it. It had FireWire, so you could actually stream right into it from like a mini DV camera. And it had this option for a docking station. Now, this docking station is more than just a port replicator. This thing actually has a PCI bus inside of it that connects into the back of this thing. So, with that, I can install a video card. Here I have the Matrox Quad something or other. It is a quad. It is a G45X 4 quad video card, and it's got these two little connectors on here that look like DVI, but they're not quite DVI. They connect to these little squid-looking things here, and I can connect up to 4 monitors to this card. So we're going to go ahead and get this connected, hook this up, and we're going to see how many virtual machines I can run in concurrent on different screens, all on the same desk, just to see how much I could have pushed this thing back in the day. Now, this thing has been upgraded. It's got an 850 megahertz Pentium 3 processor, 544 meg of RAM, and 120 gig SSD. So add all that onto the actual real bare metal GPU, and we're going to see just how far I can take it. So first off, let's take a look at this dock. So this dock has your standard dock features of the time. It's got extra audio jacks. You've got some extra PS2 ports right here. It's got 2 PCMCIA slots that you can readily use for whatever you need it to. Backside, you've got audio out. You've got video out and video in, so you could actually ingest video via RCA cable. Printer port, serial port, game port, monitor, which we'll be putting to use in a little bit, S-video in, S-video out, and the power. Now, on top of all this, you got a couple USB ports here, but here's the kicker, the PCI card. So to get into this thing, you would have to open up the docking handle, unscrew a little screw here I already got out, and slide this cover off, and you've got an actual PCI bus. Now, there are limits to what you can do with this thing. I've tried to max it out before. With this particular video card, because of IRQ conflicts, hardware conflicts, whatever, I've never been able to quite figure out what to disable in this thing. It might just be a limitation of the dock, but we are going to be limited to 3 monitors off of this one card. Beggars can't be choosers, though, because this shouldn't even be possible. When this thing came out in the 90s, this isn't what they saw people putting in here. This was mostly for network cards, special cards that people might need for video input, stuff like that. Not necessarily an external GPU, especially an external GPU in the 90s. This thing came shipped with 98. Pretty sure that wasn't a feature, but it does work. Okay, once that's in, you're going to go ahead and cover this. There is a fan on here, so it will be making a little bit of noise. It's a fairly old video card. It's probably 20 plus years old. Slap that together, put the little screw back in, and this thing is good to go. So on top of all that, I'm going to be supplying power through this. I do have working batteries in this thing. I built them myself, but they are not going to be able to keep the tornado inside this thing powered for too long. So we're going to go ahead and plug this in, and we're going to dock the laptop. You plug it in, and already you can hear that fan running. So that is something I'll have to deal with. Not a huge deal. So it's gonna freak out for a little minute here while it realizes what video card it needs to use where. Right now we only have one monitor connected, so that's not a big deal. Okay, now that I got this hooked up real quick, I'm going to be back with a few monitors. And welcome back. It's been a few days, a couple things. The little octopus cables here I had were not the right type exactly. They fit, but they did not actually have any video output. A little bit of research later, I got the proper cables. And obviously, like I said before, there's only 3 outputs on this because there's just not enough resources on this little dock. Not a big deal. It still works. I've obviously got 4 monitors working here, 3 independent displays, and this one is a mirror of my main desktop coming out of the VGA. Now, that's not a huge deal. I'm still able to get quite a bit out of this little laptop. So let's go ahead and bring up our first VM. We are going to start up with Windows 3.1, Windows 3.1.1 for work groups. Go ahead and get that started. I'm going to throw it over here. All right, so you'd go ahead, type Win, get into Windows. I'm going to go ahead and drag it to wherever this monitor happens to be. Now, unfortunately, in this instance, I didn't have the time to get all the proper video drivers. It's not a huge deal. It's just Windows 3.1.1. It is going to be a smaller resolution. If I dug into it a little bit more, I could have done it, but the 4 or 5 days it took to get these cables, I was also out of the state. So when I came home last night, this was just sitting at my door ready to go. So that was convenient. We're going to go ahead and open up the second VM. This one is going to be Windows NT. I'm going to throw it down here. All right, we're starting to hear the fans ramp up. Now, that is because there's only one processor on this, one core. It's a Pentium 3, 850 megahertz. Beefy for the time, but I'm currently running 3 operating systems. So we've got Windows 3.1.1, Windows NT, and Windows XP running the whole show. So going to go ahead and slide that to the other side here. Same deal, I could only get about 800 by 600 resolution on this, only because I didn't have the time to dig in and find the drivers. VMware didn't support these operating systems natively with VM tools, so you do have to find your own drivers when you're doing anything video related sound, pretty much anything. But here's the third operating system running. So let's go ahead and bring up our third VM. Now this is where it gets tricky. Because of memory limitations, I can only run 3 VMs at a time on this thing. There are 4 VMs total that I made. I went all the way up to 98 with this experiment, and I could not get enough resources no matter how minimum I went on all the other operating systems. The program itself, VM Player, still takes resources to load as well. So even though I could have like 4 meg on Windows 3.1.1, 16 meg on Windows NT, even though I minimize as much as possible, this machine can only pump out three VMs at once because it runs critically low on memory at that point. So let's go ahead and open up Windows 95. And this one does have VM tools, so I can actually go full screen with it. And we'll see that over here on this screen. Because I was able to install VM tools for Windows 95, I am able to use the entire screen here and move the cursor inside and out of the box too, not being locked in completely. As everything's loading up here, you can't see it, but the hard drive light is just flickering like crazy. The computer is bogging down quite a bit. It does look like it is loaded from my perspective here. It's kind of hard to see, but you hit the Windows key, the little box comes up. So the operating system is functioning. Let me get my cursor back here. And we are going to go ahead and open, or attempt to open, our 4th VM, Windows 98, and I'll show you what happens there. All right, so I got 98 up here on this display, my main display. And in a second here, you're just basically going to see an error that pops up saying not enough memory resources or something to that effect. Yes, not enough physical memory is available to power this virtual machine with its configured settings. So basically what that means is every little bit of free memory that I have available to open up a fourth window here, it's kaput. There's no more memory. It does recommend trying to reboot to free up memory. I've pretty much disabled everything I could possibly disable on each VM, bringing it all the way down to the minimum memory requirements, and it just doesn't work. There's nothing I can do to get this fourth VM running on this old machine. The fact that I'm running 3 is pretty staggering for what this machine is. It was a desktop replacement of its time. This particular system's got 544 mega RAM, Pentium 3, 850 megahertz processor, fan just pumping right now. The SSD running in it, everything is as fast as this thing will ever go. I can't bring it above 850 megahertz. I can't stick any more RAM into this thing. In fact, the chips that are in there are chips I got from OWC. They're full 512 meg chips that I tried doubling up to get a whole gig of RAM. The memory controller in this thing doesn't see anything over 256 meg per stick. So even though I've got 1 gig of RAM in this thing, it's only seeing the two 512s as 256s and the onboard 32 adding up to 544 mega RAM. So nothing I can do aside from, getting real creative like DOS Dude and put a new memory controller on this thing, but that's not going to work. So I will exit out of that. Let's go ahead and drop our Windows 3.1.1, and once that closes, I'll open up 98 and just show you that it will run, but it has to run 3 at a time. I can't run 4, unfortunately. All right, finally got 3.1.1 to close out. So fan even ramped down just a little bit there. That's kind of funny. Let's go ahead and open up 98 just to show that it will run 2 full, more appropriate operating systems for this computer just fine, not only just the old ones. I picked the old ones because I wanted to get as much on here as possible. Now maybe I could go back to Windows 2, Windows 1 even. I don't know if that'll work either, because the actual program itself uses quite a bit of resources, more than just the 4 meg U a lot. So even doing all that, I don't think we could get 4 VMs running on this thing. And here we are here. Windows 98 is starting to come up. It's a little slow. Like I said, I did have to dial back all the RAM I could to get these things running properly. When I did the install of each VM, I maxed out the RAM just so the install would go fairly quick. After that, then I pegged it back down to the minimum system requirements, and that's how I got everything running the way I did. Here we go. We got the green screen popping up. All right, and here we go. We got Windows 98 up and running. 98, 95, NT, and would have been 3.1.1 if I had 12 more mega RAM. It was that close. If you go ahead and do a Control-Delete, you can see that my total physical memory is 556, 528. Available is 68 meg. And when you try to open that 4th VM, it just drops pretty low. So I can go ahead and give that a try. Let's clear my desktop. Let's just try to open Windows 3.1.1 now. I don't think it's going to work. So as soon as I did that, it went from 68 meg down to 44 meg of free RAM. I also maxed out my page cache because I have the SSD in here. It will work as quick as the IDE bus will allow. That still wouldn't get me the memory I needed to get this up and running. Go ahead and try to open Windows 3.1. I think we're going to get the same error that we got trying to open 98 when it was open. Yep, there we go. Same exact error. No matter what configuration I did doing this, I could get it to work. Now, if you guys happen to know a better way to do it, some way to sneak in just a little bit more oomph, maybe a different VM program. I'm using VMware version 3, I believe. Let me look at the specs here. Yeah, VMware Player 3.1.3. So this is the one that works with 32-bit operating systems running a Pentium 3. You might be able to use one of the new Jet's overhead. All right, Jet has passed. So yeah, this is VMware Player 3.1.3. There might be a slightly newer one, but this is the one that I found that worked, and I just went with it. I did try newer ones that worked in XP, but they would not work on a Pentium 3 processor. So this is what I found that works best. So go ahead and maximize that. Like I said, we've got Windows 98, Windows 95, Windows NT, and an attempt at Windows 3.1 to run all at the same time. Just doesn't happen. So I hope you guys like this little video. It was just an experiment. I always wanted to see how much I could get this thing to do because when I bought it back in the early 2000s, it was a desktop replacement. It had an 8 meg video card, ATI video card, huge hard drive for the time. It was a 40 gig hard drive in a portable. I had 128 meg of RAM on my original, I believe. This one, like I said, maxed out at 544. And obviously with the docking station, a second video card, little octopus cable here, junk ones I didn't need, and all the monitors I could fit onto a desk and barely keep into frame with me somehow still being in here. This is the most I think I could ever get out of this little machine. So I hope you like this silly video. I hope you like weird experiments like this. It's not all just, hey, look what this does. I kind of like to see what I can max my limits out to with what little knowledge I still got up here. So if you like the video, like, subscribe, share, comment down below on anything you would have done differently. Any engagement really helps the channel. I am getting close to 1,000 subs and a sliver close to that beginning stages of monetization. I'm not doing this for the money, but it certainly would help. So, you know, this is more of a fun hobby, but hey, if I can start getting paid for it, because then I can do more silly stuff like this. So like, subscribe, get engaged, and I'll see you next week. Bye.